Hello, welcome to today's Here's to Your Health podcast. I'm Don Linsman, your host. My guests on the podcast today are Tiffany Ransom, Patient Access Manager, and Kendra Hartwig, Patient Access Lead here at CCMH. And what we're going to talk about is the new electronic medical record that we will be implementing here at CCMH at the end of the month. And we know that that's kind of a big deal for us, but it's going to be kind of a big deal for patients too. So maybe we start at the top and let's talk a little bit about what an EMR or electronic medical record is. Maybe you can help us with that, Tiffany.
Absolutely. So from a patient access perspective, the EMR houses all of the patient demographics, name, address, any identifying patient information, as well as financial information, your health insurance, any charges that go on your visit for the day, and then kind of on the back end, it houses any orders that the providers put in, any results for your visits for that day as well.
And I think one thing that we want to point out, Kendra, is that this system is highly confidential, just like any other healthcare system is highly confidential.
Yes, it absolutely is. All of your information will just be there for patient access to see and to get into, and then to transfer on, obviously, to the providers that you're seeing.
Well, with the conversion that we're going through, we're going from one EMR, actually two EMRs down to one. So we have two electronic medical records that exist today, one in the hospital, one in the clinic. We're going to go away from those two systems and combine them for a better patient experience. We're going to do this for better access of their records. They can make their appointments online, so on and so forth. We'll talk about that another day. But one of the things that we really want to try to bring up today is the changes that we're going to see when you come in for your appointment. Here are some changes that you're going to see. And I think one of the big things that we'll have to start with, Tiffany, is the increased wait times, because there's a possibility we could have that.
Yes, there will be some manual entry of that information into the new system. Some of that info will import automatically, but not all of it, unfortunately. So we will, on that first visit for all of our patients, be asking quite a bit of that information, and of course verifying that it is correct, the info that did import. So those check-in times will be a little bit longer than what they have been in the past.
And Kendra, I'm thinking, what we're talking about right now is those times people probably need to get here about 15 minutes earlier than they normally would.
Yeah, I think that 15 minutes is going to be plenty enough time for us to work through basically all of their demographics one time and confirm that we have the right person and that everything's up to date in the new system.
Would anything be different in ER? It's going to be the same process, but I think in terms of what we're doing today, I doubt that, from emergency services, I would like to think that we would be just as efficient as we would anywhere else in the building.
There is a lot less information that we have to get in the ER to at least get somebody back there and be seen by a doctor. Usually it's just a name, a date of birth, how they got there and what's wrong with them, and that can set us up so that we can at least get a doctor's eyes on them and a nurse to help them. So really, as long as we can be provided that, we can get the rest of it when they leave. Yeah,
that would help streamline the process. My guests on the podcast today are Tiffany Ransom, Patient Access Manager, and Kendra Hartwig, Patient Access Lead here at CCMH. We're talking about the implementation of our new electronic medical record here at the hospital and clinic that's coming up at the end of the month, and some of the impacts it'll have on patient experience. We know that patients will have a better experience on the backside because they'll be able to see more of their medical information online or on the app on their phone. But we also know that up front there's going to be a few more inefficiencies. When we implement the EMR, it looks to me like, from what I've seen so far, Tiffany, that we're probably going to end up having to a certain extent, reinvent the wheel here. That the information that we have today is going to have to be re-entered, and that starts with insurance cards and that kind of thing.
It does, yes. What we consider those scanned images will not be imported. So we will be asking all patients to please bring all copies of their insurance cards, primaries, secondaries, anything that you have with you, as well as your ID, so that we can make sure we have them up to date, entered properly, so that when that claim does go out, that it's correct and doesn't cause any issues for the patient, that any billing that they would receive from us is correct and has gone through your insurance.
And Tiffany, when we take a look at these kinds of things, everybody, when they come in to be treated, has to sign a consent and a privacy statement, I'm going to guess we're going to have to recreate all of that as well.
We will be, yes. We're going to ask each patient to go ahead and sign a new consent on their first visit once we flip over to the new system, as well as the notice of privacy practices. Those notice of privacy practices are good for 3 years. So once that's signed in a few weeks here, we won't be asking for that again for quite a while.
Kendra, if you were going to advise patients who are coming to the hospital or coming to the clinic about what they could do to streamline this process for themselves a little bit. We've talked about some of these kinds of things. What would you recommend?
I think just having all of their information with them, and then taking the time to show up early so that there isn't any stress or angst behind that. I do think, over the past, I guess as long as I've been here, we have collected those insurance and those IDs once in January or around the first of the year, and then again in the middle of the year. So I think our patients are used to bringing that stuff and prepared, right around this time that we're going to need that updated. So I think just bearing with us and knowing that we will take it at the bare minimum when we need it and only update it when we have to.
And I know we'll talk about this a lot more as we go forward because we have other things that are going to be different. Our billing cycles are going to be different, so patients are going to see that come to them differently, and some of those statements are going to look different. That's all a part and parcel of all of what's happening here with the change in the way that we're doing these kinds of things. But I think we've been working on this now for about 6 months, maybe not quite that long, maybe more like 3 or 4. But I have to feel like we're feeling a little more proficient. We have a little bit better handle on how this is going to get rolled out. And so I believe the date that we're going to do this, the date we're going to start is June 24th.
Yes, Monday, June 24th is our go live date. So we will be entering any patients into the system effective at that time. We have a great group of super users that have been working since about December, pretty consistently, I would say on a daily basis in the system, getting familiar with it, as well as training all staff throughout the facility on how to use the system.
Yeah. So in addition to their license and their insurance card and whatever else information they need, the patients probably need to bring their patients as well, right, Kendra?
Very much so, yeah.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the time and effort that our staff, or especially our frontline staff, is put into learning this system. And we know that in the future it'll be highly efficient and it will be much better for patient experience, but we are asking for people's patience right up front because we know that it'll take a little while for us to get proficient about this on either side. Tiffany, any last thoughts from you today?
Nope, we're looking forward to the change. We think it will be great. We just got to get through that first few months until we get all that data in there. We think this will be great for patients as well as staff here at CCMH.
And one thing to know is that we will be posting this information to the website, ccmhia.com. We'll have ads on the radio and the newspaper, and we'll spend some time on the radio and also in the newspaper discussing what those changes are, trying to help people understand what we're trying to accomplish and also educate them a little bit about what that new process is going to be. Try to take the mystery out of it for everybody, because the first time you do anything, the first time I ever went on a date, it's a little mysterious, right? I was only 16 years old, but still, right? So we take a little bit of the mystery out of it, and I think that'll be good for everybody. Tiffany and Kendra, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Don.
My guests on the podcast today, Tiffany Ransom, Patient Access Manager, and Kendra Hartwig, Patient Access Lead here at CCMH. I'm Don Lintzman, your host for the Here's to Your Health podcast. Have a great day.